All right. Now, so ladies and gentlemen, I would want us straight away to look at this question that was tested just the other semester, last semester. And today, I would want us specifically to talk about Frederick Taylor. This Frederick Taylor gentleman did a lot of work. He was able to build this scientific management fabric, which is very useful. Remember, he was doing his experiments in America. And he worked for 2 companies, and he was able to refine his theories very well since 1898. His concepts up to date make a lot of sense. And I would want us to look at 2025. Are we there, ladies and gentlemen? Are we there? So it's question number 1 of last semester. Question number 1 of December 2024. Question number 1 of December 2024. And I would want us specifically to look at, I don't want to read the whole case because I've done that yesterday. I want us to look at part B of this question. Unfortunately, I can't share my screen today. Because I'm using a mobile phone. Yeah, but we shall overcome. We shall overcome. Are you able to hear Mwalimu? Are you able to hear Mwalimu? Are you able to hear Mwalimu? Please confirm before I get started. Are you able to hear Mwalimu? Yes, thank you very much. So I'm looking at part B of December 2024, where they want us to assess 5 applications of Frederick Taylor's theory of scientific management observed at BBCL. So I have to take these few minutes here, first of all, to give you the background of Frederick Taylor. Frederick Taylor was quite a giant of a person. By height, he was 6 feet tall. 6 feet tall. How many of us, ladies and gentlemen, in this case here, who are able to, or rather who have that kind of a height? Is there anybody who is at least 6 feet here? Like Mwalimu here is very short. He's 5'7". Is there anybody who is 6 feet and above? I would want to know you, because I would want to give you some special assignment. So it seems, ladies and gentlemen, that all of us in this case here are short. Or Mr. Koriri is 6. He's 6 and above. Then Mr. Koriri, you'll be able to fit very well the definition of what here? The definition of Frederick Taylor, the father of what here? Scientific management. Remember, for him, he said, for us to be able to improve our efficiencies in terms of production, we need to do everything scientifically. I can see also Kerosi is 6 feet. Thank you so much. And Keter is 6.2. You are blessed. You're blessed. I'm 5'7". I'm 5'7". You guys are blessed. We admire you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, remember this particular gentleman called Frederick Taylor. So Frederick Taylor, he went to Bethlehem. Bethlehem steel structures in Pennsylvania, yeah, USA. Yeah, and remember, the experiment that he was doing involved what we call pig iron. Iron that was really heavy, being equated to a pig, nguruwe. And of course, people are required to lift this pig iron from one place to some machines up there. When this gentleman, Frederick Taylor, went to this company known as Bethlehem, the average worker was only able to lift 15 kgs. Yeah, actually 15 pieces of this pig iron. By the time he was living there, the average employee was able to lift 47, over 3 times. This iron was very, very heavy. So remember, this particular gentleman called Frederick Taylor in 1898, he went into some experiment where he chose somebody by the name Schmidt. Yeah, this Schmidt is written like this. Let me just type it here. Schmidt. It's written like this. It's written like this, Schmidt, with a D, but the D is normally silent. It's normally silent. So this gentleman that he took by the name of Schmidt, he was very obedient. This person was required here to work for some intervals, and then at the end of the day, he would be told when to rest. So obedience was a key ingredient. All right? All right? So he was working like, for example, 30 minutes, and then he was told, hey, rest, and he was very, very obedient. And that is why one of the scientific principles of Frederick Taylor is the concept of what here? Foremanship. That every worker must have a foreman. Every worker must have a foreman. Yeah, because this guy would be told, hey, stop there, rest, stop there, eat, Schmidt. Yeah, and things really worked very well. Things worked very well. And this concept here was able now to be replicated with other employees. And that is why you get, for example, like in China they have got mandatory sleeping time over the day. They call it the nap time. After they eat lunch, in China, for about 30 minutes, every employee, if they're working for good, big, recognized company, every employee must have a nap for 30 minutes. And then, of course, whenever they wake up, they become more stronger. So this concept of Schmidt is a very, very important concept. So when you hear of Frederick Taylor, just remember the foreman. Remember Frederick Taylor was the foreman himself. And if you look at the characteristics of Schmidt, Schmidt was a tall man. That is why Frederick Taylor went to concept number 2, and they said, there are jobs that can only be done by some people. There are jobs in this case that cannot be done by short people. There are jobs in this case that would want somebody who is well built. Like now, lifting of pig irons, Frederick Taylor from his team, he was able to do away with anybody who was short. Anybody in this case who was not energetic was not allowed to be in Frederick's team. So of course, when I say this, I'm also cognizant of the fact that I'm also what here, quite short. All right. So I'm not demeaning anybody, but I'm giving you a story here that will be able to help you to remember, ladies and gentlemen, what we're discussing here. Are you guys able to follow what I'm saying? Could you kindly respond? Are you able to follow what I'm saying? Are you able to follow what I'm saying? I can't hear you guys. Are you guys? Great. So you're talking of a giant of a person called Schmidt. Yeah. So in this particular case, Schmidt, in this case here, they say that every job allocation should be scientific. Match jobs with people to do them scientifically. You can't, in this case here, for example, in Kenya here, it's about, for example, who do you know? Rarely do we look at those key features that are really needed for you to be able to do some jobs. And if you remember the story of Smith very well, Smith was a gentleman who loved money. When Frederick Taylor realized that this gentleman loved money, he was able to incentivize him. He told him, hey, you cannot earn on a monthly basis. You shall be working and earning on piece rate. Please, we are taking notes there. This is the third concept, incentivization. He told Smith, you could only earn per piece. And if you remember very well, the piece rate was $1.15 per piece. $1.15 in 1898. And because of the piece rate, then this gentleman was able to triple his efforts. He did very well. He loved money. All right. So he spoke about that if you would want people to work very well, ensure that you are giving them, ladies and gentlemen, you are giving them work and paying them on a piece rate basis, And by doing that, then they were able to do what here? They were able to ensure that these employees were able to work very well. So the third concept is incentivization by paying what here? These workers on a piece rate basis. You see, scientifically, remember, he used this experiment called time motion studies. You know, even for example, like myself, I'm an engineer. I've worked with so many employees who work on this, for example, what we call KYM, kanda ya maoko, what we call in this case, kazi ya mkono hii. You know, time motion studies, how somebody makes movements. how somebody moves here, you'll be able to say scientifically, this particular person cannot really do this work. Of course, we are endowed differently, ladies and gentlemen. There are people who are able to work pretty fast. There are people in this case here who cannot work that fast. All right, you'll be able to tell. That is why in terms of scientific approach, this person said it's good that you interview people. Give people, in this case here, a chance to experiment fast. Experiment with them. Don't just give somebody a ministry and they say that this person, for example, your husband died and there was this kind of a minister and he will take over. According to Frederick Taylor, that's hogwash, useless. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please listen and listen to me very well. Whenever it comes to Frederick Taylor, this guy also believed in documentation. You must document how many pig irons was this gentleman's meat able to lift on an hourly basis. So record bookkeeping is at the center of Frederick Taylor's job. And Frederick Taylor was able to come up with so many concepts which are really, really applicable in this industry. All right. Even up to date. And I remember I was doing this experiment in 1898. First of all, at a company called Midvale Steel Structures, and then he moved to Bethlehem Steel Structures, and those companies are still in existence. And remember, after that study, we had many companies in this case here, like Ford Foundation, not Ford Foundation, but Ford Motor Vehicle, in America, which was able to borrow the ideas of this gentleman called Frederick Taylor, and they were able to double, they were able to triple their productivity. Remember, like Ford vehicles, these guys used to take like 1,000 employees. They make car number 1, all of them, and then they go to car number 2. And then Frederick Taylor was able to come up with something that he called specialization. That Smith was only specializing. This guy was only lifting. He came to this particular Bethlehem company every day to lift pig iron bars every day. So he was able to perfect, even by closing his eyes, he would lift something and push it up there, put it up there. So Ford was able to borrow that. So they came in this case here and told the people that you guys, when you come every day to this particular company, your work is simply to make dashboards. So make thousands and thousands of dashboards. So they became specialists. And by that, in this case here, the company was able to do very, very well. So ladies and gentlemen, remember, Frederick Taylor's concepts are also being disapproved. There are so many people currently who are saying, hey, no, this model is very bad. Why? Because of what we call dehumanization. That he took these employees to be who? To be like machines. In this case here, for example, according to him, so long as you are producing more and more every day, then you should be able to get more money. But what of those situations when you are on leave? When you are on leave, what happens? You don't earn anything. All right. Then this concept of foremanship, where you are simply telling people, sit down now, do this. He took people for robots. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very important subject. Unfortunately, I do not have my tools of trade. I would have wished to really share my screen to show you some of these concepts, which are really, really good. Don't go to any leadership and management class without knowing these theories. Like Frederick Taylor. We have in this case here, Henri Fayol. Henri Fayol, remember, if you remember very well, like Henri Fayol, you have to remember, is credited for having come up with two very good concepts here. He came with the 5 functions of management and then the 14 principles of management. The 14 principles of management, I've done a video on 14 principles of management, which is on my YouTube. Is there somebody who is able to remember that acronym that I've given you there for Henri Fayol? Dad, you see USSR? Oh, I see. Is there somebody who can type for me that acronym? I'm so sure you guys must have heard of that. The Fayol. Dad, the acronym, very, very important. Where DEC, thank you so much. Yes. And of course, for girls who are here, for ladies who are here, if your son calls you dad, so you must sound back with a deep bass. Yes. When you say, OIC, simply shout like that. Deep voice, that you see USSR, Russia, OIC. According to Henri Fayol, for productivity to improve, we need employees to be disciplined. D. We need O. O stands for order. There must be order in the company. I stands for initiatives. Don't I have employees, ladies and gentlemen? Sorry, somebody called me. I'm really sorry. Don't have employees, ladies and gentlemen, who can't give you ideas. It's called ideation. Employees are endowed. Even the sweepers you're seeing around, they have something that they can share with you. So they have ideas. They'll be able to give you something that can be able to see this particular farm moving a notch higher. Don't despise anybody in the company, right? Under that, you see USSR, there is that R, which means remuneration. Pay your workers well. Don't be that kind of a company that when it grows up over and above, it is only directors who are enjoying life. The cake should be shared out equitably. Under that, you see USSR. Oh, I see. One of those E's is equitable, equity. Companies that do very well, ladies and gentlemen, are those companies that espouse what we call esprit de corps. The last E, esprit de corps, teamwork. There should be lots of bonding between team members. Once you start hearing a lot of infighting between employees, don't be very, very happy. The other day, I met a friend of mine somewhere. And this friend of mine is married to he has two wives. So this guy was telling me that whenever his two wives are very close, they are talking between themselves, he's really worried. He's really worried. He would want a situation where these can talk badly about the other one, etc., like that. That should not be the spirit in a company. In a company, we expect lots of team building, all right? We should work as a team. That's why we should be able to sponsor people to go to Mombasa, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, as we go to this particular LM, there are those particular concepts that you're supposed to always to master. Yeah. You're supposed to master for you to be able to apply them in the case question. So, for example, we have Max Weber. Max Weber is the father of bureaucracy. Max Weber told us that for longevity, if we want RCM to live long, ensure that there is bureaucracy. There must be bureaucracy. So bureaucracy, there must be some kind of what here, okay, you never called it, but dictatorship. Remember, bureaucratic systems are those systems that we have foreman, we have bosses up there, and the bosses in this case should be listened to. All right? Bureaucracy means what here? Order. There must be order in the company. Order, hierarchy. Who reports to who? Like military is really hierarchical. Military, they work with rules of what here? Bureaucracy. Everything under bureaucracy has to be documented. So there must be a lot of documentation. Remember, this gentleman was basically looking at the Catholic Church. Yeah, rigid rules here. Was looking at the Catholic Church, yes. Yeah, great. And of course, in the Catholic, Catholic, there is a lot of order, a lot of rigidity. Catholic, huwezi ukaamka ati kama vile unaona kanisa zingine zetu, atunaamka from nowhere, unaweza kuimba pambio. From to nowhere, katikati, Catholic utaangaliwa sana. Catholic kuna order. Hata ukienda mazishi ya any Catholic, ina run na Catholic priests, kuna a lot of order. All right? Unajua kuna kanisa unaamka tu unasema unataka kuomba, unaomba. Hiyo si kitu ya Max Weber. Max Weber is all about what here? Max Weber is all about bureaucracy. So ladies and gentlemen, I would, I would have wished to continue, but I happen to be at someone's office today. Why don't we pick this up tomorrow again? I promise tomorrow I'll do much more. Yeah. So those students who are following me on YouTube, ensure that you really subscribe, ensure that you are doing what here, ensure that you are able to share this link. And again, before I forget, remember, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk of Frederick Taylor, You know, like this Schmidt guy, this guy his work was very standardized. He talks about standardization. This thing of giving a teacher to teach, in this case here, AFM, a teacher is teaching LM, a teacher is teaching BDA. It's very, very bad. Let the teacher, in this case, specialize. Like myself, I always know, although I don't teach it, but I'm 100% sure that I can do very well if I was to teach these theory papers. If I teach a theory paper, like now I'm so sure there is a student who will be going home singing Smith. Yeah, yeah, great. Great. They're asking about the 12 videos. There is somebody who is working on them. They should be able to release them today. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. I hope you have enjoyed the session. Thank you and bye. I hope you have enjoyed the session. Thank you and bye. Thank you, bye. All right. Yeah, be blessed too. Be blessed. Be blessed.